Queen h3, there is a beautiful move. Take a second, try to find it. Trust me, after what I'm about to show you today, you won't develop your queen early on in a game. The center gambit. So what is a gambit? A gambit is when we sacrifice something to actually gain something against it. We're not taking straight away, we decide to actually develop a piece instead, which would give us more dynamism in a position, more chances of attack, and that's the idea. Bishop c4. They say, I'm not gonna take the pawn on d4. I prefer to develop my pieces, try to mate you or try to create an attack to put you in trouble. Beginners usually tend to play very direct moves, which means whenever they see a check, they're gonna just do it. And they're also gonna develop their queen very early because they have been told the queen is the strongest piece. They want to put it out because they think, okay, it's the most powerful on the chessboard. I want to use it early on to win the game, but it just doesn't work this way. The move here is Queen h4. You see a lot of people doing this, which is putting their queen out. They're thinking, okay, I'm attacking the pawn on e4. I'm winning a tempo. One day maybe there will be a threat on the king. So it kind of makes sense, but it doesn't. Queen e2, defending the pawn on e4. And black played bishop b4 check. They are again doing the same kind of play, which is developing a piece, checking you, so forcing you to make a move. But the only problem is, if I push the pawn here on c3, let's say take and take, your bishop here has to move again. This is the biggest issue of this move, is that you're not really winning a tempo when you think about it, because now your bishop is under attack and he has to go back. Here they play bishop c5. They're thinking, okay, one day I will have an attack on the f2 pawn. Makes sense, that's fine. The best move here is knight f3. And it makes sense for this because you are attacking the queen on h4, so the queen has to move, and you developed a new piece, so you're winning a tempo when you do this. And now, as you can see, the queen can go back on d8, but again, it doesn't make any sense here. They would have all their pieces on the back rank. I keep on developing with castle. One day they may have some troubles, maybe on the d files, etc. And usually they will play this move because they're thinking that there is a pin one day that they can use against you. And now there is an amazing move for white that you must find. Take a few seconds and try to find it. The move here for white, which is spectacular, but you need to see all the variations. Again, you're thinking, he's moving one piece several times. I'm better in development. Here, how can I exploit it? The best way to exploit it is to be direct, to not let him breathe here. If you start playing a move like, I don't know, like just to castle, for instance, well, you know, he's gonna develop his pieces. Let's say you castle in this situation. He's gonna play knight e7. Let's say you play bishop f4, he castles, and life is good for him, right? But you don't want to let him do something like this. When someone makes a mistake, you have to punish the fact that he played the wrong move. And usually it has to be super direct. As we say, the guy who loses in chess is the last guy who made the wrong move. Queen h5 is again a queen move, and it is not a good move. And the best way to punish is to be direct with a move like g4. g4 is again, we are attacking the queen, but you're telling me, okay, but he can just take the pawn. First of all, let's think if he doesn't take. What are the squares that the black queen can go to? Cannot go on g5, cannot go on h4, cannot go on h6 because of this bishop, cannot go on e5 because of this knight. Basically, the queen here would have just two squares. The only squares are g6 and h3, where the queen can go. If the queen goes on g6, do you know what happens? There is a move here, and the move is knight e5. And now you're attacking everything. You're attacking the queen, you're attacking the pawn on f7 with these two pieces, and you're gonna win the game because maybe next move you're gonna play knight take f7, and most likely, you know, knight take the rook on h8. That doesn't work. So queen g6 is not a good move. What happens after queen h3? Queen h3, there is a beautiful move. Take a second, try to find it. The move is bishop take f7 check. And this is how we think. We always try to create diversions to bring the pieces of our opponent on the wrong squares so we can use this to our advantage. After bishop take f7, if the king takes, you have to see this fork. If you don't see that there is knight g5 that basically attack the queen and the king, well, you cannot see bishop take f7 because that's the idea behind it. It's just a win in 2 moves. He cannot go on h3. What happens after queen take g4? Think for a sec. After queen take g4, again, it's the same thing, is bishop take f7. Check, because now I'm creating the fork this way. The queen is attacking, the knight is attacking the queen, and the knight is checking the king. There is maybe another way of playing it. If after queen take g4, bishop take f7, you have to think he doesn't necessarily have to take the bishop, he can play something else. And he could play something like king f8. And he's saying, okay, you took my pawn here, but I took your pawn here, so we're about, the same. Life is not that simple, actually. So now you're gonna keep on being direct because you need to punish the fact that he puts the queen out too early. And this is the move is rook g1. You're attacking the queen. Try to find a square for the queen, and you're gonna tell me, yeah, there is one. And the only one is h3. There is another move, again super direct, which is rook g3, and the queen has no square. That's a pretty big space here on the king side, but all the squares are taken. And this is the issue. When you put your queen out too early, you are prone to this kind of attacks. You can lose your queen in so many ways. So even if the queen is strong, you shouldn't do this. But now I want to show you something different. There is always an exception. I don't want you to think, all right, I'm never going to put my queen out. I want you to have an open mind when you play chess. Everything is possible, but I'm giving you the patterns to follow so you can play faster, and win against people who don't have this knowledge to actually win in chess. So you could, like in this example, put the queen out and win, and you have some, I'm going to show you a beautiful trap, so stay until the end. So black are creating a trap here by actually developing their queen very early in the game. I just want you to keep it in mind that it's possible to win when you put your queen out. But in 90% of cases, it's not a good thing. Why decide to play d4? And we decide to play a gambit, which is called the Englung Gambit. And we decide to sacrifice the pawn. That is played a lot, especially at the beginner's level. You have to know this opening. When you take on e5, we play knight c6. We're developing a piece. Why decide to defend? And they defend by developing a minor piece. We decide to develop the queen early, and we play the move queen e7. We're attacking the pawn, threatening to take with the knight on e5. If white decide to defend the pawn by playing bishop f4, this is where everything happens. Magic. Let's go back just 1 second and then I'll show you. When someone plays a gambit against you, usually when you try to defend this pawn, in most situations, it will create big troubles. In most gambits, you're gonna end up giving the pawn back. So this is another pattern that I have. I don't have to keep the pawn because he gave it to me for free. Sometimes he will create some disadvantages in the position, and I know I have to give it back to have some development, to castle, put my king safe, etc. The best move wasn't bishop f4, but just keep the development. Knight c3, he takes on e5, and then you play bishop f4, knight take, pawn take, and you're gonna play one day, with something like queen d2 and long castle. And you're gonna have this amazing file to attack his king if he decides to short castle. Usually at the beginner's level, when you give them a pawn, they're gonna try to keep it. So don't be greedy. And let's not play here bishop f4. Now you know the trap. So bishop f4, there is an amazing move, and this is very direct. This is queen b4 check. Look what it's doing. It's a triple attack. It's attacking the pawn on b2, it's attacking the king, and it's attacking the bishop on f4. How do you do to defend? And this is what white thought they had a chance to actually get away, but they miscalculated. By playing bishop d2, they're attacking the queen. They're thinking, if you take on b2, my rook is attacked, the pawn is attacked and the rook, and now I'm simply gonna play bishop c3. And I'm defending everything. And they missed this amazing move. Try to find it. Think for 1 second. This is a pin, but this is a rare one because usually A move like bishop b4, which is a bishop that is pinning a bishop, doesn't happen very often in chess. So the bishop usually is pinning the knight, etc. So this is a pin on the king, and you cannot take the queen on b2. This is a problem. Next move, I'm threatening a move like queen take rook because you're pinned, and you cannot take my queen if I do this. What should you play? That's a good question. If you move the knight, then the bishop is hanging. You could defend by playing queen d2. This is what you're thinking about. If you play queen d2, look at this. Bishop takes bishop. The first thing we calculate, we see if there is a capture. We see if the capture is winning. If queen take, simply queen c1 checkmate. Very quick one. We put the queen out in this opening. This is an amazing trap. He wins in this one, so just keep your mind very open in chess. So what can you do? The other solution is to play bishop take bishop. And now you simply take with the knight, you're creating an attack here. You're now targeting to take the rook on a1, and you cannot defend because the only way to defend this rook is to move this knight, and now the queen is defending the rook. The rook cannot move. So the only way to defend is to actually move the knight. The problem is when you move the knight, first of all, these two squares are controlled by the black queen, so you're gonna lose the knight. And also the last move, which is knight d2, you get mated like this. I mean, you're not mated, but you're gonna have to sacrifice the queen, and I take your queen. And what do we have to remember from this? Do not develop your queen too early because you may get trapped, and the queen may be basically without squares very fast. So think about it. Develop your minor pieces first. Put your king safe, castle, control the center with your pawns, and then think about the queen. It's not because the queen is the strongest piece that you have to put it out very fast in the opening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This tells me if you like the video or not, and it gives me a plan for the future. I have much more to show you. Stay tuned, and I'll see you next time.